The Hell Guardians usher in wrongdoers. Let me get back to explaining about the dead. I think it will leave you, the reader, with either meager or ample food for thought. While I was talking to the Lord of Death, Yama, and my father, there were Hell Guardians, nibbāna, ushering in a great number of people who had committed evil karma. Some were hauled in by the ropes fastened around their necks. Some were dragged in by the chains binding their arms and legs. Some were being driven in by the thwacking of a birch cane. Each body was covered in blood. Their pain was evident in the lamenting shrieks and howls that filled the air. Some wore torn clothing, while others weren't wearing any clothes at all. The Hell Guardians forced and threatened the wrongdoers in various ways. Each group of those who killed, stole, committed adultery, spoke untruthfully, or partook in intoxicants was punished differently. The group of adulterers who had violated the third precept of refraining from sexual misconduct, kāmesu micchācārā, were tied together at the neck with rope in male-female pairs. They were not clothed at all. The Hell Guardians used rattan canes to beat them until their bodies were cloaked in blood. Many of the dead were punished by the Hell Guardians in this way. There were many groups of Hell Guardians. One was charged with hurting the wrongdoers through the steel doorway, while another took over after that. The Hell Guardians all used much violence, walloping them with birch canes, kicking them, and pulling and dragging them. Wrongdoers were punished according to whatever heavy karma they had committed in the human realm. I glanced to the other side where a large pavilion stood. I asked the Lord of Death, "What is that pavilion?" The Lord of Death answered, "That is the pavilion of 1,000 rooms. It is used to investigate and make judgments on various cases. In the pavilion of 1,000 rooms, each room operates differently. One section is for those from the heavenly realms, saga, who have exhausted their merit, punya. They must pay for the evil karma they had committed while in the human realm. Once that karma has been paid for in hell, naraka, but there is still outstanding residual karma, they will be reborn as hungry ghosts, peta, or animals, tirachana. Those who committed evil, papa, verbal offenses, and were vicious while they were human, such as slandering or lying, are destined for rebirth in the 4 lower levels of existence, abhaya bhumi: hell, naraka, hungry ghost, peta, angry demon, asura, or animal, tirachana. And if residual karma remains and they are reborn as human, that residual karma will cause them to have a foul-smelling mouth. No one will believe what they say. Consequently, they will be failed leaders. Each of the rooms in the pavilion are used to judge cases. For example, the case of someone who went to heaven but ran out of merit and had to return to hell to pay off that karma. Those who have paid off their karma in hell are sometimes reborn in heaven as hungry ghosts or as animals. A Lord of Death works in a righteous manner, unlike the judging of cases in the human world. Cases in the human world can be altered and distorted in many ways, though this isn't the place to delve into that. When a Lord of Death decides cases, there are no lawyers, no appellate courts, and no superior courts. There are no weak or strong arguments. All there is you, both you as defendant and you as plaintiff. For instance, when you've forgotten the good karma you've committed or forgotten the evil karma you've committed, forgetting the good or bad karma doesn't void or erase it in any way. It is like when information gets inputted into a computer. Even if you've forgotten it, the information in the computer doesn't get erased. Likewise, the good karma and the evil karma we have committed is stored in the deep recesses of our minds. Once we die, we will enter the karma judgment room. In that room, there is no Lord of Death to interrogate us. It is like a lie detector room. The good karma and evil karma we have committed automatically appears on a screen. If someone has committed considerable good karma, if they've committed scant evil karma, if they've committed considerable evil karma, or if they've committed scant good karma, all the results of those actions appear on their own. Thus, kamuna watati loko, the world's sentient beings are determined by karma. So, once we have died, karma will do the deciding. However karma decides, that is the fate that we must accept. Once we have died, there is no one more influential than karma. There is no one more powerful than karma. It's impossible to lie to karma or bribe karma in any way. I studied the way judgments were made in the pavilion of 1,000 rooms. Every step was fixed in my memory. Then my mind, citta, withdrew from meditation. I sat and analyzed the events that occurred in the meditative vision, nimitta. It's something that is difficult to explain to others. It's something that is impossible for people in today's day and age to understand. If someone holds some measure of belief in the effects of karma, they may understand some of it. When we are in the human world and cultivating evil karma, it isn't scary. But once you die and the effects of that evil karma catch up to you, it's terrifying. The time when the hell guardians were shepherding the wrongdoers toward their judgments was the precise moment their karmic creditors had been awaiting. Whichever manner the evil had been committed, that evil would now exact its revenge. If someone had killed oxen or cows, the form of oxen or cows would appear to chase them down and gore them. If someone had killed ducks or chickens, the form of ducks and chickens would appear to peck at them and hit them. After the owner of the karma fell dead, they would rise once more. The location where evildoers were confined was a great distance from the pavilion of 1,000 rooms. This left a vast empty space for evildoers to traverse. Within that space, there were numerous karmic creditors waiting to get their revenge. A Lord of Death is unable to prevent this karma in any way. The pain and torment that occurred in the karmic creditor revenge stage was tremendously frightful. The ducks and chickens that pursued and pecked at people were not the chickens we would see back at home. They were steel-beaked chickens, tearing bodies to shreds until the fields were saturated and flooded with blood. When people went on trial and were judged destined to hell, that was also terrifying. Explaining these events to those who habitually commit evil will only make them laugh. But once they experience the results of their karma for themselves, they will know what it's like. At that time, my mother was still alive. I went to ask my mother about my father's involvement in killing the ox in the past. I wonder how he killed it, because I had never seen my father kill an ox. My mother told me that back then, my father was the village head. There were people in the village who stole an ox from another village. They brought the ox back and killed it. Once they had killed it, the parts that they could not eat were buried and crops were planted over it. The owner of the ox came by, but did not see any trace of the killing. Actually, my father didn't kill it, but because he had supported the killing of the ox and protected the wrongdoers, he had assisted in the wrongdoing. Consequently, he had to pay for that karma. The judgments made in a Lord of Death's court are extremely fair and righteous because good karma and evil karma do the deciding. It is straightforward. There is no corruption. There is no bias or favoritism. There is no money used as a factor in deciding cases as it is in the human world. When we say, Kamuna vatati loko, the world's sentient beings are determined by karma, it is very clear. People often ask if those who work as hell guardians, nibbāna, or a Lord of Death, yama, are the same group of people who work that profession in the human world. They could be working the job because they are accustomed to this field of work. It is likely the same bunch. However, I forgot to ask the Lord of Death and the hell guardians what their field of work was in the human realm. All right, if I have an opportunity to visit there again, I will ask them whether or not they work this type of job as humans. It is a question worth pondering. We should think about whether or not the theory fits. If they were a corrupt bunch that took bribes, it is unlikely. Those people are taken to correct their behavior and pay for their karma, just like all the others. If that kind of person was employed as a Lord of Death in the underworld, the laws of karma would surely be destined for catastrophe.